Hey friends, Dan Dunn coming to you from out in the barn where we record the What We're Drinking podcast. Woo! It's cold out here. Speaking of which, the interview you're about to watch featuring Joh Varvatos and Nick Jonas appears on episode 122 of the podcast. I invite you to subscribe, leave a comment, tell a friend or two about it. Get on board with the team. Be part of the fun. I thank you for the support, and I hope you enjoy this interview with Nick Jonas and Joh Varvatos. Roll tape.
Well, pour yourself a glass, sit for a spill. It's time to have some fun. Let's do a little thinking, some picking and a drinking. But this is what we're drinking with Dan Dunn.
Joining me now are the co-founders of Villa One Tequila, Joh Varvatos and Nick Jonas. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. I'm the resident spirits expert on the Adam Carolla show. We did a segment a few weeks ago where I brought in some celebrity brands, and Villa One was one of them, and it was a big hit. Actually, the two biggest hits of the segment were you and Cranston and Aaron Paul's Mezcal, Dos Hombres. So congrats on that. Everybody loved it. So that does beg the obvious question. What is going on with famous people in agave-based spirits? Because I watched it from the beginning. I was the booze writer for Playboy a long time ago, and I remember when Sammy Hagar started Cabo Wabo, and now it's kind of gone to, we've got you guys, The Rock, Clooney, Pitbull, Rita Ora, on and on and on and on. Why is it tequila and mezcal? Seems to be the one that people gravitate towards.
Well, I think there's probably a lot of reasons. I think, one of the things that I was initially drawn to about tequila was the, low caloric intake and low sugar, low carbohydrates. So it could make sense that there is, a connection between people in the entertainment business wanting to live a clean lifestyle, even while they drink. And so, the agave of it all definitely helps that. And it's such an art, and I think for John and I both, when we got to sit down and work with Arturo Fuentes, our master distiller, and go through the process, we learned so much. And I was so inspired leaving that initial tasting. And I kind of wanted to carry that same level of care and focus that he brings to every aspect of the distilling process to all the work that I do outside of this venture with John. But this explosion in this category is great. It just means there's a lot of really great product out there, but I feel like I will go on record and say I think Villa One is the best of those celebrity endorsed tequilas and other agave spirits. And that's because John and I focused on saying, okay, let's make sure the star of the show initially is what's in that bottle and not us, and making sure that we have something we're really proud of, that we can put our stamp of approval on and feel like, we're ready to step out and make a lot of noise. And so it's just been great to see the response so far to Villa One and to see it continuing to grow every day.
By the way, I can't wait for the next time you're in the room with The Rock. Could there be a throwdown here on, I heard what you said, man.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
Yeah. I mean, he posted a video the other day of him drinking his tequila and he was doing shots out of the bottle. I was very impressed by the volume at which he was able to consume the tequila he was drinking. But maybe a more civilized shot for shot, we could just sit down and talk through the differences of our tequila, but it's all love. That's what John and I kind of always say is we invite and welcome the competition. It just means that there's a lot of people that want to make a great tequila, and we're tequila lovers. So why would we not invite that competition and embrace this very exciting and explosive category?
Well, you mentioned Arturo Fuentes. He's been with the Stoli Group for a long time. He's worked on a lot of iconic brands, and you guys are making Fabrica de Tequilas Finos, right? Is where you're manufacturing your tequila, correct? And they make a lot of great brands down there. How did that happen? Were you on vacation? It was a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean, we make down at the Finos Distillery in Jalisco, Mexico. And Nick actually had he can talk to it a bit too. He had a pre-existing relationship with Stoli. I don't really remember what it was. But we had been talking ourselves about our passion for tequila. And I've been drinking it for 30 years. So it's not like a new thing. But as you watch where tequila has gone over the years and the quality of it, we were also asking ourselves, like, why does great tequila have to be $150? Why couldn't we be best in class in the ultra premium tequila and really go up against a lot of the brands that really have the market share there, which isn't even, for the most part, they're not even great tequilas. So that's where Arturo came into the picture. He was running the Finos Distillery from a production standpoint. As you said, he's got a real history. In fact, down there, they call him the godfather of tequila in that area. You walk down the street with him and it's like a scene from the Godfather. But they're really talking about tequila. They're not talking about who was murdered the day before.
Cement shoes or anything like this. Okay.
So, that's kind of how we got there. And it's been, as Nick said earlier, a real learning experience for us because we knew what we liked. We knew what our taste profile direction was, but having someone that was the real expert there that really could help guide us and find new ways to make the taste profile interesting. And also, as we said, best in class. It's really was our goal throughout this whole process.
When you say you had an idea what flavor profile you were looking for, how would you describe that, Nick? How would you describe the flavor profile of the silver right off the bat?
Sure.
Well, the thing that was interesting about this journey was that when I started drinking, I was really drawn to tequila because I'm a type 1 diabetic and all the things I mentioned before about the low calorie, low carb, all that. And so I was sort of a new drinker at the time in which ultra premium tequilas really started blowing up. So I was exposed to some great tequilas early on. And I prefer not to necessarily mention what those are, but great stuff. Sure. And within that, I quickly sort of figured out what I liked. And I think what was most important to me personally, and John speak to this too, but when it came to our silver, there were so many tequilas out there that I feel like were very alcohol forward, were a little aggressive in your face. And so Arturo immediately said, well, I want to do this thing where we combine the agave from the lowlands and the highlands, which is going to give it this blend. And he referenced, Reposados actually speaking to the silver or the Blanco, saying, I wanted to have the consistency more like a Reposado or like an Añejo, but to have the crisp feel of a silver or a Blanco. And also to really be conscious of that blend and just the simplicity of it. We first obviously drank during these tastings the tequila just out of champagne flutes and without any ice or any mixers or anything like that. But another thing that stood out to me was knowing that most of the time, and especially as we look at expanding this as a business, to restaurants, bars, the silver is going to be one that they mix into cocktails. So, sure. You're kind of nervous because there is that sort of feel, is this guy who knows a lot more about tequila than we do, is he going to think that, we're stupid for asking how it's going to blend? But he was like, listen, I want you to drink this and also take some time on your own to mix it with some cocktails, to drink it how you want to drink it so that the buyer, the consumer of this product really feels like you guys invested not just the process of drinking it in its purest form, but also how it will translate into a cocktail and what you want to say with this. So that was a long-winded answer to say that for me, the priorities were smoothness, this crisp feel that would naturally blend well, and something that combines some of those earthier notes that you don't necessarily always get with a silver, that because of that lowland, highland combination, we were able to make something I think that stands out.
And so everybody sort of understands what Nick's talking about. So when you're if you're looking at Mexico on the map, in the middle, you've got Guadalajara. And then when you head west, you're heading towards the town of Tequila, which is where your distillery is. And if you go the other way towards Los Altos, you've got the highland area up there. So it's kind of a big circle in the state of Jalisco around Guadalajara, which is where tequila is primarily made. And by law, there are a couple of places outside of Jalisco where they can still call it tequila. And then when we talk about aging, as I've mentioned here before, blancos or silver tequilas are tequilas, again, this is legal definition, under 2 months in the barrel, generally spends no time in the barrel. I'm guessing your silver doesn't go in the barrel at all, right? And then a reposado, which is rested, is 2 months to a year, and anything over a year is añejo tequila. And I'm curious, John, Nick mentioned what he was looking for taste-wise. Do you like the influence on wood on tequila, and how much? And I guess I ask that because I am a fan of aged tequilas and sipping tequilas, but in terms of spirits that spend time in wood, it's not my favorite. And the reason being is I love the pure flavor of agave without that wood influence on it too much. So reposado is kind of my sweet spot, but how do you feel about an añejo versus a silver tequila?
Well, there's a big distance between, as you said, añejo and silver. I mean, silver comes right out of the tap really after it's been distilled. And cooked and distilled, where the añejo is 12 to 16 months in American oak barrels. So you definitely start at 12 to 16 months, you definitely start to pick up much more of the woody oakiness of it. The repo, which is like 6 months, 6+ months, ours is anyway, in American oak, you get a hint of it, but it also is, both Nick and I's favorite type is the repo. We love the notes that are in it. We like the little touch of woodiness. I think the añejo is a sipping tequila. It's not really, it's kind of a after dinner type of thing. And it's quite special in its own right, for sure. We weren't big añejo drinkers before. We drank, a lot of repo and silver, and we've really learned to love that. But I think, so much of every tequila, like any food or anything, is really all in the ingredients. And here it's in, as Nick said, it starts with the agave, where we're only one of 2 tequila brands that we know of that use both the highland and the lowland agaves, which the highland is sweet and the lowlands is more earthy. So once you start to put in notes of whether it's butterscotch or caramel or whatever it is from anybody into all that with the woodiness, all of those things, it's like making a perfume in a way. It's the magic of all of the percentages of all those things mixing, the amount of time they're laying in those barrels. But yeah, there's a big drastic difference between silver and añejo. Silver, as Nick said, most people mix it. We really went after our silver, so you can sip it if you want. You can definitely do shots with it and don't have the burn, because I think the reason most people mix it is because people love mixed drinks, and also generally silvers give you a burn.
Nick, you're enjoying a cocktail right now. What do you got?
Well, during this lockdown quarantine time, I got really into mixology because I had nothing better to do, really. So I've got a few cocktails that I make for each of our different expressions. Right now, I'm drinking a minty margarita. So it's kind of a mojito meets a margarita, but it's got no sweeteners in it. So what I do is I muddle up some mint leaves, do some lime juice, do the silver, and a little bit of rose water actually as well, which is kind of nice just for a bit of a surprise taste. And then just shake that up and pour it over ice with a little salt rim. But I discovered another one last night, again, just playing around with different things and kind of having fun. But I was originally making this cocktail with the añejo and doing it as kind of an after dinner drink. So I was taking a shot of espresso, the añejo, and then basically shaking that up, pouring it up or on the rocks, whatever you prefer. And then taking a blowtorch and for like a creme brulee or for a cigar, and burning, an orange rind. And it just brought out all these wonderful flavors, the citrus, but also some of that smoke. So what I did was I put those same ingredients, apart from the shot of espresso, into a shaker, and did that, and then actually added just a touch of what's it called? Chocolate bitters, which just gave it this great sort of sweetness at the end that wasn't too in your face, and again wasn't overly sweet. But it's been fun to play around, and what I'm realizing is that I'm still discovering new things, even though we've now lived with this tequila for almost a year and a half. But there's so many flavors that I continue to discover and kind of love figuring out while I'm just sitting at home with nothing better to do but then to make cocktails.
I was going to say, have you had any sort of formal training? Because what you're doing sounds fairly elaborate, man. Are you just watching YouTube videos training, or something?
Just spent enough time at restaurants watching mixologists do their thing to fake it till I make it. And then my wife is my taste test. And so she approves or gives me the thumbs down on each one of the cocktails that I make.
Well, speaking of that and being out in bars and whatnot, I mean, we're all looking forward to that coming back, certainly. And, I know tons of people in the bar community. Are you guys ready when we do emerge from this? Are you going to be going back out and sort of doing the work because that's one of the things I've found with especially brands that are owned by notable people is you got to get out and do the work. You got to go to the cocktail festivals. You got to go work the bars. I mean, I've been out with, I've got Soderbergh's a friend, and I mean, he literally goes out to the accounts when he's in the various cities, and he just goes around. And is that something you guys want to do or looking forward to doing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've actually done it in the off premise. So in the liquor stores and that, we were doing it from the time we launched at the end of 2019 until everything shut down, and then bits and pieces along the way. Also the same thing with the restaurants and bars. It's, listen, we're super passionate, as Nick said about this before. We wake up every day kind of thinking about Villa One and go to sleep every night with the same kind of thoughts. And this isn't a part-time thing with us. This isn't just a passion project. This is something that we really take very seriously. So we understand the relationships. We understand the importance of all of that. And it's actually a lot of fun. It's great thank you for the compliments on your tasting that you did, because that's when we go out and we get that reaction from a bartender who's, questioning, do I need another tequila, when he's looking at his back bar. And then all of a sudden you get the, wow, didn't expect this. This is amazing type of thing. That makes everything you do and all the time you spend on the road traveling with it really worthwhile.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, obviously you guys have both made names for yourselves in other endeavors, and you've created great art. And how does this correlate in terms of, Nick, you write a great song. Is it a similar kind of feeling? Because there's a lot of, the craftsmanship that goes into making tequila you alluded to earlier. Do you get that same kind of feeling when you taste it and go, Jesus, man, like we did this?
Yeah, I think one of the things early on that's been exciting about this journey and really fulfilling is the surprise, as John mentioned. People are still becoming familiar and aware of the brand, and with Villa One as a whole. So when they taste it, they can't believe it, and it's kind of like being counted out or something, right? So if you write a great song, and maybe there's a song the same week that it comes out that's doing slightly better, but over time, that song that you wrote continues to grow and more people start to love it. There's a gratification in a year later looking up and saying, okay, it took a year, but we got to number one, or we got top 5. And I think that's where John and I, where our heads are at, is like, we're starting to see that moment where people are becoming familiar with it and loving it with a passion and excited to share it with their friends and family. And I think that there is that similarity between, music and television and film, fashion and fragrance. these things and the correlation with spirits is that they become a part of the fabric of people's lives, and something that they go to enjoy, to cut loose, whether it's a great song, their favorite jacket, or a glass of tequila. There's something really nice about being able to sit down and just enjoy something with the people you love and have that memory attached to it. I think it is even more significant in some ways because it's something that I'm able to consume and love just as much as having made it. Whereas if I sit and listen to my own music around a bunch of friends, they might be like, all right, dude, let's listen to some Bee Gees or something else.
I was going to say that's got to be the really gratifying part, because if you're out and someone puts on your music, it's got to be awkward, right? Like, I don't want to say, or if somebody shows up and they're head to toe in Joh Varvatos clothing, you're wearing the cologne, it's like, all right, this is weird. But you hit it, Nick, when you said the tequila, that's a communal thing. That's not weird to sit around and go, hey guys, here's our tequila. Let's have some of this. And it's got to be a real source of pride for you guys.
Very much. Totally. I mean, there is the factor of, before a record comes out or a song comes out, you probably play it 100 times with your friends and family. But once it's out there in the world, it's sort of like, okay, now it's weird if we play it because everyone has it. But with this, it's even more exciting now that it's out there and growing for us to sit down and really take pride in what we have here, and know also that there's so much room to grow. But it's a very unique thing. It's strange to be partner, founder / consumer and lover fan of the thing. But that's the dream, I guess.
Yeah. I got to ask you, Nick, this is a little bit off topic, but I was watching recently the Bear Grylls show that you did, where you went out in the wilderness. It looked really fucking cold. I got to ask you, when you went into that, so there was a part at the end of the episode, and what was it? I forget the name. It's Bear Grylls, where he hangs with celebrities and he takes them into these extreme conditions. And at the end of the episode, you get in the water, and you look like you were genuinely uncomfortable at the end of that. Was that as bad as it looked?
It was worse than it looked. I mean, Bear's great, and the whole experience was really phenomenal, front to back. Except for, we did literally stay in the mountain during a blizzard, in the middle of this mountain in just a tent. So you sit after your day of shooting, traversing this mountain, and then the film crew leaves, and it's just you, Bear, and his right-hand guy, who's this, this adventure specialist. And I think one of his SAS comrades or whatever. And so you sit there and you cook your food over the fire, and then you talk and share some stories, and it's just the three of you, and you go to bed. And in this scenario, it was, 10 below or something. So I'm freezing. I'd sent a picture with whatever battery left I had on my phone to my family of just my face basically frozen. I said, if I die, this is my face. Don't forget. So we woke up the next morning, and as we're going down the mountain, I said something to the effect of, dude, this has been so much fun. And this wasn't, I thought it'd be really scary and really, intense, but it's been fairly simple. He's like, well, just wait. And I thought he was messing with me, but then we got to this frozen lake, and we in fact had to swim across it. And there is something that kicks in, when your body is submerged in temperatures that are that low without any clothes on or anything, you go into shock, right? So I sort of froze up, but then some sort of warrior spirit kicked in, and I just pushed through. But it was horrible. I'm not gonna lie, I thought my feet were gonna fall off, and it was a lot.
I used to live in Aspen, Colorado, and there was a place up when you go up out of town called the Punch Bowl, where you go up there after this winter and you jump in. And this is all mountain snow runoff. And exactly what you said, because the second you hit the water, it's an indescribable feeling, like what's happening to me. And then just something kicks in where you go, get out. I think it's because my nuts were shooting out of my ears at that point. And you're like, go, get out. And you just, your body starts moving. You're like, okay, got to get out. So I saw that, but I had to ask you about it. So Guys, I want to thank you for taking the time. As you can see, I am a fan. And by the way, what a beautiful bottle. You guys designed this. The two of you designed this bottle.
Yep.
John, you've got some design background, right? If I'm familiar with that,
A little bit. Yep. A little bit.
Yeah,
we work together and we're proud of all of it. I mean, as Nick said earlier, it's the magic that's in the bottle, but we also wanted the packaging to feel really special too. So.
And it's great. And price wise, as you mentioned earlier, I mean, it's between $45 and I believe around 55, right? For the 55, 60 for the Añejo. Yeah. So great price, great looking bottle, great tequila. Joh Varvatos and Nick Jonas, thank you guys for taking the time. And good luck. I can't wait to see you out on
Dan, thanks for having
bar
us.
somewhere.
Thanks for the support.